It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, yes! Caught! Touchdown, they did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to have you part of the show as well. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports Logan text line where you can weigh in, ask a question, disagree with what we've got going on, and always love to get your feedback as we go through a variety of different topics, breaking down what's going on in sports. Today, we're going to get a little bit more in detail about Vanderbilt and hear more from the coaches and the players as we continue to preview the matchup between the Aggies and the Commodores. Reminder that pregame coverage with KVNU Game Day will actually begin at 9 a.m. on Saturday. They've got the Garden Guide going from 8 to 9. But at 9 a.m., that's when game day will begin with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes. Your opportunity to weigh in, give your score prediction before the game, and your thoughts as they break it down. And then at 10:45 is when that game will officially get underway. So a lot of different ways to tune in and be a part of the program. Of course, when the game is over, if you've watched it on TV or if you're listening on your radio, make sure you tune into KVNU Aggie Call to hear from the coach and to get our reactions after the game is said and done. But tomorrow we'll get into more of our specific predictions, how we think things will actually go down. But a little bit later on the show today, we'll give other predictions in our Pick 6 that we'll have. And, of course, always fun to have you tune in and be a part of that. And shout out your radio and how you would vote. How would you agree or disagree with some of the things that we have to say there? So a lot of different things on the docket today. Also getting into some Utah State basketball news, some Utah Jazz news. But 435-339-0321 is the text line. And love to have you part of the show. And let's with such a big announcement yesterday with the Cam Walker introduction, we really didn't get a chance to get too much into what's going on with Utah State and Vanderbilt. And so this is a time where we can get a little bit more detail there. What are the coaches saying about it? What are the players saying about these matchups? And certainly one of the big storylines, we heard about this yesterday, we did play this audio, is the return of Nick Howell to Vanderbilt. And he spent some time there as a defensive coordinator, spent 2 seasons there. Not a lot of on-field success during his time, but definitely things have been turning around and definitely on a different trajectory now. And we heard Nick Howell talk about that. But what about Clark Lee? He's a head coach there at Vanderbilt. He had a chance to hire Nick Howell as his D coordinator for 2 seasons. And he weighed in on the opportunity to face his former defensive coordinator.
First of all, also, too, his son's on the team, Dakota, who was, in high school at the time and around our program. And it's always neat, the world of college athletics, the world of college football is so small that when you cross paths with people that have been a part of your past, it's meaningful. And, obviously on Saturday, Nick's a competitor, and so, it's going to be less about kind of, reminiscing and more about, 2 teams that are trying for the same objective. We want the same result. So, but it'll be good to see him and Dakota and reconnect with their family. And I got a ton of respect for Nick, and I appreciate all his contributions here, and I've been excited for him beyond his time here to keep at it in his career, and obviously doing a great job back with Broncos. So all good things. Saturday he's a competitor, but I always have a respect and appreciation for him.
Yeah, you can tell these two guys were close. They liked working with each other, but Nick Howell, I mean, he's pretty much made it very clear. Wherever Bronco is, I will be there.
Yeah, that's
very
the way,
loyal.
That's the way it's been, like 17 years, I think. And yeah, Bronco basically hasn't had a different defensive coordinator like since like the maybe very first couple of years that he was a head coach. So yeah, Nick Howell leaving Vanderbilt to go coach with Bronco at New Mexico, and then obviously following him to Utah State. But Vanderbilt's not necessarily been hurting since that departure. Last year they ranked 50th, decent 50th in points allowed per game, 23.4, so not bad at all. This year coming in at 19th in the country at just 13 points allowed per game. And so they've looked incredibly good on both sides of the ball. They played a ranked South Carolina team, the team that was ranked 11th in the country, beat them 31-7. And they played, Georgia State, beat them 70-21. Of course, South Carolina's not ranked anymore, so I don't know if we want to count them as a ranked opponent. But still, like, this is a Vanderbilt team that's been cleaning up against pretty much everybody they've played. Their closest margin of victory is 24 points, which has happened twice. 44-20 at Virginia Tech, 31-7 at South Carolina. Their combined margin of victory at home is 115-24. So a lot. They beat Charleston Southern, an FCS team, 45-3, and beat Georgia State 70-21, as I mentioned. So looking pretty good so far, and a very tough opponent on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And I think the offensive numbers might be a little inflated just by, you score 70 points in a game. That's going to really inflate it. And you got an FCS game in there. So I think the points per game number for Vanderbilt, which is sitting at 47.5, that's a bit inflated, but like they can very easily put up 40 plus points against the Aggies. Like that is something they can definitely do. And a big part of that is Diego Pavia. And did we play the clip from Bronco talking about Diego Pavia? So he talks about him and just the evolution of that Vanderbilt offense under this current coaching staff, where people talk about Vanderbilt like they were one of the doormat of the SEC. They're the beatable team. That's why a lot of Aggie fans are like, hey, we can beat Vanderbilt. Like that's an easy P5 team. And it's like, well, no. Under Clark Lee, this team's been pretty good, and Diego Pavia has been an engine of that, as Bronco Mendenhall attested to.
He's a really good football player, obviously a very good leader, the face, the brand, and kind of I would say the reason that there's a resurgence at Vanderbilt. Really impressed with the offensive coordinator. So the offensive coordinator in combination with their quarterback, almost in tandem, and then Jerry Kill's influence. Right, there's a powerful offensive kind of trio there that immediately yielded when they left New Mexico State and came to Vanderbilt, and I would say that then kind of became this next era and this next jump of what Vanderbilt's been able to accomplish.
Yeah, just giving you an idea of the kind of cornerback Diego Pavia is. Like last year, he only threw 298 passes. I almost read that wrong. He had 177 completions, but 298 passes, which isn't like a whole lot for playing 13 games as a quarterback. It's still a decent amount, but this is a guy who ran the ball 192 times. That's like a middling running back load for, your average FBS starter is somewhere around 200 carries. So this guy's basically a running back, like a lead rusher for a team. He's the leading rusher for Vanderbilt right now, and I believe he was last season. He had 801 yards
Yeah, at this point in the season, he's the leading rusher on the team.
And he was the overall leading rusher last year. Last year he ran for 800 yards. Their starting running back, Cedric Alexander, who is back for this season, Alexander ran for 586 yards, and he also played all 13 games. He had 164 carries. So Diego Pavia is their lead rusher, not just leading rusher in yards. He is the guy they turn to for their run game. And I know sometimes attempt totals can be inflated by however many times he was sacked, because, again, sacks count as rush attempts. But still, this is a guy who leads the team in rushing yards and rush attempts. So they're going to look to him to lead the ground game and the pass game. That's the kind of quarterback he is. It's not, with Marcel Reed where it's like, oh, he'll run the ball. And with Bryson Barnes, oh, Bryson Barnes will run the ball. It's like, no, Diego Pavia won't just run the ball. He is their lead rusher. He is the guy. They have other guys who can run. But when they need yards, they turn to Diego Pavia, either in the pass or the run, and other people just happen to get the ball. And so that's the kind of player we're looking at. It's not just a quarterback who runs. He is the guy for their run game. It's hard to overemphasize that.
Yeah, and Noah Avenger kind of weighed in on that as well, about facing another dynamic quarterback who can throw the ball well, but also make plays happen with his feet.
Versatile quarterbacks, you have a lot more preparation as the week goes on. So just how we prepare, and, all the guys have seen it now, like having a versatile QB. So we kind of have like an idea of how to game plan against it. And each day we'll, work on it day to day. And Coach Howell is going to put together the game plan that we need to come out successful.
Yeah, so Utah State's already faced a running quarterback, multiple running quarterbacks technically with Air Force, but that's just kind of a whole different kettle of worms there. But Marcel Reed's probably the better comparison, just because that's in a more traditional offense, but you have a scrambling quarterback in there who can get yards, and because with Air Force, like, you're preparing for the quarterback to run specifically. And Marcel Reed ended up carving up the Aggies for a little bit. He had 10 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. So he was just about the leading rusher for Texas A&M, as Le'Veon Moss had 10 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. So Utah State didn't really fare particularly well in stopping the, running quarterback for Texas A&M. And they're going to face a guy who is probably even better at being a running quarterback, though Marcel Reed is pretty darn good as a runner. I think he had 600 or 700 yards rushing as like a freshman. So there's some worry, I think, for me here, and it's like Diego Pavia could very easily cause problems for the Aggies, especially if he gets out of the pocket in passing situations. That's the thing that kind of would scare me the most if I'm the Aggies. Like, what happens when he gets outside the pocket? What happens if you get the pass rush and then all of a sudden this lane opens up right in the middle of the offensive line and he runs right through it? You might have a spy. Like, Utah State's going to have somebody spying him, but is, John Miller going to be fast enough? Is Bronson Olival going to be fast enough to catch Diego Pavia? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to really tell, and it makes you really worried about the kind of damage that Pavia can end up doing to the Aggies defense.
Yeah, and that's what makes me wonder if you're going to see more, maybe some more corner blitzes or safety blitzes, where some of the quote unquote smaller guys, maybe faster guys, come off the edge, partially to seal the edge, not provide running lanes for Pavia to escape. But you can also be it can also be problematic if your defense like over pursues and all of a sudden he's got a wide open lane through the middle. Yeah. So we've seen that before as well. But then looking at just comparisons, like we've talked about Marcel Reed, maybe the closest comparison that Utah State has faced so far. Reed has 869 passing yards on the season. Pavia has 890. Pretty similar. Pavia has 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Reed has 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Reed's been only sacked once. Pavia has only been sacked twice. But the bigger differences are in the rushing attack. Because for as we've said, Pavia, he leads the team in rushing at 215 yards on the season so far, whereas Marcel Reed, 142 yards on the ground. Their running back, Le'Veon Moss, is their leading running back.
I would point out Texas A&M has only played 3 games. Vanderbilt's played 4.
And that is, I was going to get to that too, is that some interesting comparables, but Vanderbilt does have 1 extra game on their record.
Yeah, and so I think that, I think I've said this before, but I think Texas A&M's offense is just more dynamic. Vanderbilt does have a lot of points they've put up there, but I've said it's inflated by a couple of games where in 70-21, it's just one game just really pulling those numbers. And again, you've got an FCS game in there. And I believe Texas A&M, I think they haven't played an FCS game. So I think Texas A&M's offense is much better.
But A&M definitely has more dynamic wide receivers.
And they have more dynamic wide receivers. And I think that's where, if you're clinging to hope for this one, it's that Utah State, I don't think they're going to get burned by Vanderbilt's receivers as bad. The biggest question is, how much is Eli Stowers going to be a problem? Because the frustrating thing about a tight end is you're like, well, he's not that fast, so like, how can you lose track of him? But by golly, if teams somehow manage to lose track of a 6'4", 260 pounds tight end half the time, and they're just always wide open, 6 or 7 yards down the field, they catch it and they rumble forward, and it takes like 4 defenders to bring him down. And before you know it, they've had like 3 different catches for like 50 yards. And they end up being open at the worst possible times. Like, it's 3rd and 6. And you think you got everyone covered, and then suddenly the tight end is there for an 8-yard catch. And it's like, how did you lose him? He's the biggest guy on the field or down the field. And so it's not like Eli Stowers is going to like be catching these 60-yard bombs. It's just that he can be a consistent menace on the defense. 7 yards on, 2nd and 4, 11 yards on 3rd and 9. It's those kind of things those drive sustaining plays is, I think, where Eli Stowers will end up making the biggest problem. So even though they may not have these dynamic, take the top off the defense kind of guys, with Pavia in the ground game, Cedric Alexander providing really good support as that, kind of secondary runner, but again, starting running back, have at least one really consistent target in the pass game, I think they're going to just be able to dink and dunk all over the Aggies, unless they're able to. Maybe it'll be similar to their game plan against UTEP, where it's just like, put a shell over things. If they want to complete a 4 or 5 yard pass, go ahead, we'll tackle you for a 4 or 5 yard gain. Can they pull off that same game plan and make it work against Vanderbilt the way they did against UTEP? I don't think they're going to hold them to 16 points, but can they hold them to 28? Can they hold them to 30? Because that's kind of that range. If Utah State, if you're winning this game, you're holding Vanderbilt to 28, 30 points, and then your offense comes alive and manages, to get more than 28 or 30 points.
Yeah.
So you're not going to shut down Vanderbilt's offense. The question is, can you hold them to a season low of, again, like 28 to 30 points while your offense manages to get into those mid-30s? That's where I can try and see Utah State winning this game, is limit the chunk plays and just make Vanderbilt go up and down the field on long drives all game. And they can do that, but you'll at least slow down the offense as opposed to letting them just break things wide open.
Right. You put pressure on them to be mistake-free.
Yeah.
Interesting. You're talking about their tight end, Eli Stowers. Bronco Mendenhall highlighted him a little bit on his press conference earlier this week.
A really good player, experienced, productive, and obviously returning with picking up right where he left off and even expanding. So there's a rhythm, there's a cadence between their quarterback, obviously the offensive coordinator, and targets that he knows and likes and utilizes. And so I've been really impressed. And anytime you have an inside matchup like that at tight end, for any defense, right? Does the linebacker match up well? Does the safety match up well? Is it a combination of both, neither, or something else? And again, the more length or the more extent you go to address that, that leaves you vulnerable elsewhere. So you just have to pick and choose.
And then also Noah Avenger talked a little bit about preparing for that Vanderbilt passing attack that they'll see on Saturday.
The biggest thing is focus on ourselves. What can we take from all the previous games that we've played already? hone those skills in, and each day being process driven. All our guys knowing their jobs at a fast, high level, and I feel like that's when we will play our best on Saturday.
So, yeah, it's a tall order to try to slow down a very solid, very efficient, experienced Vanderbilt offense. They have the advantage of having a lot of experienced guys back, guys who can perform at a good level. A team that, they won. They were 7-6 last year. So when you look at that and think, okay, that's not that great, but that definitely there was you could see and sense from afar there were changes happening with Vanderbilt, and that has just carried on into the start of this season.
One of their 6 losses, one of those was by 3 to number 7 Missouri. One of those was by 3 to number 5 Texas, and then they lost to number 7 Tennessee by 13 points. They did also have losses to LSU and South Carolina. It's like all of their losses, except for one, were in the SEC. They did actually get stunned by Georgia State. They lost at Georgia State 36-32. So they've lost a game against a G6 team, within the last year. We know they can slip up. We know they can make that mistake. But they are also a more veteran team. And last year they got a win over, at the time, number 1 Alabama, who ended up ranked 15th or 16th by the end of the year. So we know this is a capable Vanderbilt team because it's one that did pretty well given its strength of schedule last year. And they return a lot of those players from that team, so they're only better. They're only more capable. And so that's what kind of scares you about this team. And now they started 4-0, and they're looking like a bit of a machine. Their ranked win doesn't look as impressive considering it's now against a team that, South Carolina team that's 2-2 on the season, but still. This is a good Vanderbilt team that's taken some of its opponents apart, and Utah State is not necessarily going to be an exception. The one thing you hope is that Vanderbilt has 4 upcoming games against, at 17th ranked Alabama, home against number 4 LSU, home against number 20 Missouri, and then at number 10 Texas. They've got a murderer's row schedule next month.
Yeah.
October is not going to be a particularly fun month for them.
No.
Or it'll be really fun. One of the two, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll be a very tough one, to say the very least. So maybe they start overlooking the Aggies. That's maybe what you hope for. A team that hasn't seen a whole lot of success, so they're not experienced in being at the top. So they're that's the kind of team that can maybe start to make those mistakes of, getting, as I like to say, get too big for your britches. Could Utah State take advantage of that? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, this is a very good team, so it'll be hard no matter what happens.
Yeah, a lot more to get into, more from the coaches and the players, previewing Utah State at Vanderbilt, kicking off at 10:45 Saturday morning on the SEC Network. Also full play-by-play on our sister station, KVNU, pregame coverage with KVNU Game Day starting at 9 a.m., going right up to kickoff, and as soon as the game is over, we'll be on with KVNU Aggie Call, taking your reactions to what took place in Nashville, Tennessee. Quick timeout. We'll be right back here on the Full Court Press.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah Gold Medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a Heat and Glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Express tires for less.
Safety and comfort on the road are Express Tire's top priority. As a Point S team member, count on peace of mind with an inclusive warranty that includes nationwide protection. Any brand, any size, better pricing. No appointment necessary on the highway at 3200 North Main.
Express tires for less.
Looking for a luxurious local space to host your next gathering? The Hive Event Center in downtown Logan brings modern elegance to your wedding, private party, or business event. Your guests will be amazed at the glamorous design, and you'll benefit from the advanced tech included in every rental, from DIY parties to full-service packages. 255 South Main in Logan behind Beehive Grill. Luxury lives here. The Hive is your place to gather.
Luxury lives here. Luxury lives here. The Hive.
See us online at thehivelogan.com.
Hi friends, this is Lydia at The Sportsman on Main Street, inviting you to check out our new fall arrivals. For women, this is our first season carrying Free People movement, and you will love it. We also have great fresh looks from Viore, Pendleton, Cool, and Birkenstock. At The Sportsman, we try really hard to find unique products. For the men, you will love our new shirts, jackets, sweaters, and pants from Cool, Fjallraven, Viore, and Pendleton. From colognes and perfumes to skis, we've got you covered. Come and see us at The Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan and look amazing this fall.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Young Power Sports Logan is already geared up for winter. You don't have to wait for the snow. Get ready now with blowout pricing on Polaris, Ski-Doo snowmobiles, up to $4,000 off MSRP. Great deals on gear besides the sleds themselves. Even snow plows and side-by-sides are available. Transparent pricing, all available at Young Power Sports Logan, your headquarters for winter fun. Getting to the, of course, they sponsor our text line, 435-339-0321. Got a text coming in from 9315. Here's how I see the game on Saturday going. The winning team wins by having more points than their opponent.
That's very bold.
That's a hot take there, 9315.
Some revolutionary analytics there.
I don't know if we can handle that. That's it's coming out of nowhere.
We can't have that on our hot take radio show.
Look, this is an interesting matchup. Vanderbilt has not really understood how it is to have sustained success.
Yep.
They are used to having 80% of their stadium filled with opposing fans. In some games, that is a true fact. Not in every game, but in some games, they've had over 80%.
Some of those years where they go like 2-10, 0-9.
It's just another home game for the Tennessee Volunteers. They just have to drive a little bit further to get there.
Yeah.
So how they handle success. Now, it appears so far this season they're handling that okay. They already have 2 P4 wins, both of them by 24 points. But how much can they continue doing that? Now, that would be a nice wishful thinking, like, well, maybe this could happen, but that is a really long shot. But this is a team that's pretty balanced on offense. But it's only for a few select individuals. And that's what's interesting to me, is that Pavia, he's a good thrower. He's a scrambler. He is the running game. Now, he's not. It's like there's this huge gap between him and the starting running back because he still contributes. But there's not a lot of dynamic wide receivers. It's the tight end that's leading the team. And he doesn't have like a ton of big, gaudy yards either. So it kind of gets spread around from a lot of different players who receive those passes. And it's not like...
I think they have 15 players who have caught a pass.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think a lot of that may be the fact that they have 2 blowouts, and so there might be some... I don't know how much of that has gone to, inflate that number. Maybe it would, or more realistically, it's like maybe they have 11 guys, but even that's pretty high. Just they have a bunch of different guys who have caught like a pass here, a pass there, 2 or 3 passes here. But yeah, it's Eli Stowers who has 16 catches, but yeah, only like 200 and something yards.
233 yards through 4 games.
Like Braden Pagan has, I think, it's almost the same number of catches, but he has like north of 300 yards. I'm going to double check this because, yeah, hold on. There's the way this table is set up. Yes, he has 17 catches for 303 yards, and Eli Stowers has 16 catches for 233 yards. So it's like...
Even Brady Boyd has 17 catches for 274.
Yeah, so it's like not this crazy amount of yards. Though still a pretty decent 14.6 yards per catch. But like, they're not breaking things wide open with the passing game. Can they? I think they can, and that's kind of the tricky thing about Vanderbilt is okay, what happens if you just shut down their run game? Well, Diego Pavia threw for 245 yards against Georgia State. I don't think he was in the game for very long. Went 18 of 24, completed 75% of his passes. Like, this is a guy who has one game where he's completed under 70% of his passes. And in that game, he completed 67% of his passes, which is still pretty dang good. And that was against Virginia Tech. So, like, Pavia is incredibly efficient, with basically everything he does. The least efficient he's really been in a game was against South Carolina, where he only had 177 yards passing, and he had 24 yards rushing, 2.2 yards per attempt. But again, Vanderbilt still won that game by 24 points. They shut down South Carolina to score just 7 points. So if this part of the game isn't elite in some particular game, it's another part of the team. That's the biggest thing that worries me about trying to predict an upset here. It's like, well, what if Utah State does this incredibly well and shuts down this part of Vanderbilt? And it's like, well, that other part's probably going to be
what
okay.
About this part?
You have to play. You can't just play this game where you get lucky and have a few things go your way in one particular aspect. You have to do everything. You have to play great pass defense and run defense, incredibly complementary football on defense. And then with the offense, I think with that, it just comes down to, can you compete on the line of scrimmage? Because Vanderbilt's pass rush, 10 sacks on the year, they can get to your quarterback. But if Utah State does well on the offensive line, I'm confident they can at least make things happen. They got good enough skill position players that they can make things happen, so long as they compete on the O-line. Open up holes for Miles Davis or Bryson Barnes. Give Bryson Barnes enough time to throw. I'm confident Utah State can score between 21 and 28 points. I think they can do that.
Well, you talk about the Utah State offensive line and how good Vanderbilt has been in creating pressure and getting sacks from their opponents. Bronco Mendenhall had some interesting things to say about what Utah State can do to help prevent having more sacks, because that was a problem that plagued the team early in the season. They seem to be getting better at it. Have they really solved that, and what do they need to do to prevent that problem this Saturday?
Well, most sacks happen on third down, and most sacks happen on third down if you're behind the chains, and that's no secret to anyone. So really against any quality team, especially on the road, or if you're an underdog, and if you just want to play quality football offensively, it's always best to be strong on early downs and have third and manageable, or better yet, not even get to third down. So when Vanderbilt really, I think they love creating different looks each week on third down and exotics and pressures and those kind of things, and are really skilled at it. And so again, credit to them. The offenses then simply need to stay ahead of the chains.
I think that's so big. You got to stay ahead of the chains. How Utah State performs on first and second downs on Saturday is going to set the tone for so many different things regarding the entire offensive output for Utah State. So if they have third and long situations, Vanderbilt's just going to come after them a little bit more. There's going to be more pressure to further down the field. Now, how comfortable can Bryson Barnes be in another pressure situation with a very, very good defense breathing down his neck?
Yeah, Bryson Barnes, pretty much every quarterback. It's not like this is some particular weakness of Bryson Barnes, but he is bad when he's under pressure. Go figure. But, again, like most quarterbacks, he's bad under pressure. When he's got a guy in his face, he makes bad decisions, he makes bad throws, and bad decisions and bad throws leads to incomplete passes or worse. Hasn't actually led to an interception yet for Barnes. He's actually been pretty good at protecting the ball, but it leads to sacks. Usually he's just gone down with a sack, or throw it over the head of your wide receiver. And a lot of that was because, Utah State kept ending up in third and long. A couple weeks ago we were going over the numbers, their third and the distance on third down was averaging 8.5 yards. I think it was almost 9 yards. And it's that kind of average, for one, it was hard for them to convert anyway. So they had a really low third down conversion rate. But yeah, it led to a lot of sacks. And not just that they had a lot of sacks on third and long, they'd have sacks on second and long too, because they were not doing well on first down. So they'd not do well on first down. Then suddenly it's 2nd and 8+. Well, 2nd and 8+, you're more likely to pass. And so the defense is a little more likely to maybe send something. Not maybe an all-out blitz, but they're more likely to try something. Might get a sack on second down. Utah State gave up some sacks on second down. And they gave up a bunch on third down. As Bronco said, most of your sacks are going to happen on third down because in a lot of third down situations, they know you're going to pass. And they know that if it's third and long, the quarterback has to sit back there and wait. He can't just throw a quick pass because the route's got to get to the sticks. And it takes humans a bit of time to run 10 yards down the field. So if you blitz 6 or 7 guys, just tell your corners, just stand at the sticks and make sure that Bryson Barnes can't throw to that guy, in that range. And one of those 7 guys is going to get to Bryson Barnes.
Yeah, how the Utah State running game gets going is going to be really important as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say this is a key to any game, anywhere, anytime in the game of football, that establishing the run is important. But it's no different, and it's for good reason that gets used a lot. And so the success of Miles Davis and Javen Jacobs in the running game, and to a degree Bryson Barnes as well, putting some pressure on Vanderbilt, trying to push them around where they can, try to soften them up, and also try to keep them on their heels. Where this is, as we've heard from these players from Utah State and from opponents as well, Utah State throws some really interesting looks and different wrinkles out there with their offense that sometimes has defenses kind of scrambling to try to figure out who they are and what's coming next. In fact, Brady Boyd talked a little bit about this earlier this week, highlighting Coach Kevin McGiven and his offensive scheme and how that can sometimes really help Utah State and be problematic for their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I came from Texas Tech, so we were 3-4 receivers out there at all times. And, this offense is just so complex. I know it's making D coordinators' heads kind of spin just seeing like 3 running back sets, and then we'll spread them out and go empty out of it. So, it's just so complex. And Mac Jesus got such a great mind for offense. So, I mean, just having him back there and, he's going to draw some stuff up every week, and it's on us to go out and do it.
And the versatility of the guys that are out there where they may line up where it looks like you have 3 running backs, you don't do a substitution and suddenly you're empty and you got all these guys out on the line as guys who can be in the receiving core and any variation in between. And Utah State's had some success trying to keep the defensive opponents guessing and on their heels.
Yeah, and they're going to need to keep being creative. And I want to go back to what you said about the run game, where Utah State has to be consistent in the run game. And you look at the numbers with Utah State against Texas A&M, and on its face, it looks pretty bad because you have 35 rushes for 78 yards, 2.2 per carry. But that's including the 47 yards lost in sacks. So if you adjust out the outliers a little bit, so you remove the 47 yards lost to sacks from team rushing yards, which again, I will never stop whining about how that's included in there. But also, Miles Davis, he had 50 yards and 30 of those were on 1 carry. So take out the top end outlier too, and Utah State comes out to having a yards per carry average of 3.3. And that's about a yard short of like kind of that bare minimum. You don't want to be averaging 3.3 yards per carry for the bulk of your run game. You need to be far more consistent, or at least break off a few more, 10, 15 yard runs. That's, I think, the biggest thing is instead of only ever getting, 4 or 5 yards, like Javen Jacobs in that game. He ran the ball 8 times. His longest carry was 6 yards. You need to just be getting a few more of those 7, 8, 9 yard runs, or getting 5 or 6. Basically, the difference, I think, for the Aggies is instead of getting 2 or 3 yards in the run game, turn that into 5 or 6, at least on first down. Like the difference between 1 or 2 yards on first down in a run versus getting 5 or 6 are massive. It just changes the entire dynamic of that set of downs. And so Utah State just needs to be able to win that first down in the ground game, because they're going to try and run these guys on first down. They're going to try it a lot. And you've got to be able to win those first down runs consistently, because that's where you can really establish your offense. Because you get yourself into 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, you can keep piling those together all the way down the field. That's going to lead you to a lot of points. If you're finding yourself on 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10 all the time, you're not going to have a good time, because then you're going to find yourself on 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 13. Like, you're going to have a lot of really long distances. So it's about winning that first down, particularly with the ground game. And however they do it, as Brady Boyd was saying, they can get creative with their run game and with their sets. So they got to keep getting creative with it.
Last thing on this, we got to hit a timeout here real quick, but I did want to hear from Clark Lee, the head coach of Vanderbilt, and some comments he made earlier this week about how to defend Utah State's offense. What's got him thinking about the Aggies?
It starts with, having a plan and a structure against the run, and when you can get them off schedule and force them into a passing game that they don't want to play in, you have a chance to put pressure on them, pressure the quarterback, get them to 3rd and throws. Those are going to be areas where you have the chance to take the upper hand in the matchup. If you're on your heels in 1st and 2nd down and they're creating space in that run game with their formations, motions, and the unique schemes they use, then that's going to allow them to set up kind of shots off those schemes. And that's where you see on film a lot of defenses get wayward. They're chasing the motion. They're not lined up to the unbalanced set. So they're chasing the play down and the ball gets up and over the top. And so beyond that, you see a lot of empty, so 5 out, they're creating space and time for the quarterback. At some point, it's picking and choosing your moments to challenge that space. But I still think the key here is going to be how we defend the run and how we defend the perimeter, because I think part of that run game is going to become the alleys and then also kind of the throws out. And, I felt like we took on some water last week when the ball got sprayed out in the perimeter. So we need to be stronger out there. And that's where we kind of started our focus today.
Mirrors a lot of things we just said. That's and one thing that Utah State can do is try to throw a lot of eye candy out there. Motion, a lot of guys moving around in different sets. Try to get that defense to keep spinning their wheels to try to figure out what Utah State's going to throw at them.
Yeah, like when Bronco was talking after the Air Force game, he was talking about his own defense. They said defenders, play fast when they know what they're doing. Make Vanderbilt not know what they're doing.
Yeah, multiple shifts, guys moving out back into the backfield, up to the line.
Yeah, pull out all the stops.
Moving around.
We do. They did that against Texas A&M.
Dropping back, moving back up.
You like the aggression they had against Texas A&M. It didn't work because Texas A&M was just really good, the number 9 team in the country. But see if you can make it stick against Vanderbilt. It'll be another tough test, but what the heck? What do you got to lose?
All right, another quick timeout. Get some of your texts and your thoughts about the matchup between the Aggies and the Commodores coming up next on the Full Court Press.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air, they believe everyone deserves to feel the love. Their team is here to keep your home comfortable year-round with expert tune-ups and maintenance. From the first call to the final check, you'll have an entire team behind you, ready to serve every need. As the seasons change, don't wait. Schedule your tune-up today. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
Need a great deal near USU? Mention Aggie 79 and score a room at the Baum Hotel for just $79. Enjoy charming, homey hospitality in downtown Logan. You'll love the clean, spacious rooms and friendly, attentive staff. Take advantage of free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and a seasonal outdoor pool. At that price, it can't be beat. $79 rooms with Aggie 79 at the Baum Hotel. Value every day of the week. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is thrilled to welcome Dr. Jackson Deere to their team of trusted specialists. Dr. Deere joins Doctors Blotter and Robinette to provide exceptional medical and surgical care for your ears, nose, throat, and related structures of the head and neck. Appointments are now available. Whether it's allergies, hearing, or sinus concerns, Cache Valley ENT is here to help you live the life you deserve. Welcome Dr. Deere to Cache Valley and the team at Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat. Now serving Logan, Providence, Tremonton, Preston, and Montpelier.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wees T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to complementary football. So if defense goes out there, gets a stop, it's our job to go down and score. If they get a turnover, it's our job to go down and make it right. If they're getting turnovers and getting stops and we're not helping them out, then it's kind of our fault as well.
That was Brady Boyd talking about the importance of playing complementary football for the Aggies.
Yeah, if the defense gets stops, I don't know if there's going to be that many stops for the Aggies. This is a very tough Vanderbilt offense they're going against. So when they get stops, if they create a turnover, like the thing that would lose this game for the Aggies the most, aside from just getting outclassed, is if they, get an interception, put the ball on the 20-yard line, the plus 20-yard line, and then they have to kick a field goal or something out of that. That'd be just a massive wasted opportunity, where you shut down their offense for a possession, take away their chance to score, and then throw away your own. Whenever the defense makes those big plays, the offense, which I think is going to have a bit of an easier time. I think Vanderbilt's defense isn't as good as its offense, as good as their defense still kind of is, but the offense has to take full advantage of every opportunity it gets, especially if the defense manages to hand them a golden one.
Right. Yeah, that's true. If they can get a turnover, get a short field.
Yeah. And turnovers, that's going to be that's the thing that fuels upsets. I think I said it yesterday. The turnovers are the gasoline on the fire of upsets. Force turnovers and then have the offense score points on those turnovers. That's, again, if Utah State gets an upset, it's because they forced 3 or 4 turnovers and scored 17 to 28 points off of them.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's run defense ranks 11th nationally, surrendering only 70 yards per game on the ground.
Yeah, so the Aggies are going to have to do pretty good.
From the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 8908, texting in, I get to go out to Nashville for the game. I'm predicting, or maybe more, hoping for a close Aggie win, 37-34.
Yeah,
wow.
If they can if they can get their offense rolling, it might be hard for them to score 37 points against. I just said the offense might have an easier time, but Vanderbilt defense is still good. But if the Aggies offense gets rolling, I think they could put up points in the 30s. If they really get rolling, they can get there. Because I think Texas A&M's defense is better than Vanderbilt's defense, but it's still going to be tough.
Yeah, how well Utah State gets going could be a real factor here, because it took them a while to really get kind of settled in to what they wanted to do. They looked great in the opening drive.
Yeah, they had the one drive early,
and then
but
they just stalled.
They just lack consistency. That's the thing. It's being consistent. They're going to have the 1, 2, maybe 3 drives where they score. If Utah State scores fewer than 10 points, that'd be way worse than any of the predictions I think I would have. Because I think they'll get close to 20 points. But the difference between them scoring 20 points and basically having a repeat of their performance against Texas A&M versus maybe getting 37 points, which is in the realm of possibility. It's all about consistency, because they had consistency against McNeese. They had consistency against Air Force. And they had consistency for about 3/4 of the game against UTEP.
Yeah.
Maybe 2/3 of the game.
All right, another quick timeout. Still love to hear from you as well as we're previewing Utah State and Vanderbilt. 435-339-0321.
S.E. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. Couples throughout the state buy their rings from S.E. Needham Jewelers because of our low prices, extensive ring selection, and extraordinary benefits and services with financing available. Go to seneedham.com to learn more. We have many unique and beautiful engagement rings starting at $500. You'll find affordable engagement rings with our integrity price guarantee. This is why we are where Utah gets engaged. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Upgrade your storage with a shed that's built to last. At Top Shed, we're making sheds great again. Whether you need space for tools, toys, or a backyard getaway, our sheds are custom built with quality craftsmanship. And the best part, we'll bring it right to you and build on site across southern Idaho and northern Utah, Preston, Malad, Logan, Tremont, and more. With cooler days ahead, now is the time to design, build, and custom deliver your shed for year-round use. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit topshedusa.com.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Napa has what you need to survive the weather changes. Get a Napa Legend or Napa AAA battery. If you need to get that replaced, you need to get new wiper blades. They can help install that right there on site. You got various different locations throughout Preston and Providence. That's Napa Auto Parts. So Utah State and Vanderbilt squaring off Saturday morning, 10:45 kickoff on our sister station KVNU. KVNU game day coverage starts at 9, and full play-by-play, full pregame, full play-by-play, and then full post-game reactions, and including yours with KVNU Aggie Call on an early Saturday afternoon. And see how well this happens. Another trip into SEC territory. I think this team has a lot of lessons learned from the last time they were there. It's the same kickoff. Now, they're both in the Central Time Zone.
Yep.
So it should be a lot of the similarities for a lot of reasons of facing Vanderbilt, like what they saw with Texas A&M.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of similarities in kind of situation, similarities in team. Teams with dynamic quarterbacks, teams with good defenses, ranked SEC teams. Like, they got playmakers. There are some differences. We've talked about how Texas A&M probably a little more dynamic, a little bit more speedy, but Texas A&M also had really good defensive linemen. They had the one guy who sacked Bryson Barnes 3 plays in a row.
Monster.
Vanderbilt, I don't think has like that one great pass rusher, but I think
they got some good linebackers.
Yeah, as I said, they have 10 sacks on the season, and the guy with the most sacks has 2.5. They have 8 players that have recorded at least 1 sack this season. So they have a bunch of different guys who are capable of getting after you, and they've got a few players they got 3 guys with interceptions already this season as well. So, they can force turnovers, they can get to the quarterback. And so that's just one of the biggest keys for Utah State with their offense is being able to at least compete at the line of scrimmage. Do they need to dominate? I mean, you like that, but you're not going to get that against Vanderbilt. You're just not. They dominated the line of scrimmage against McNeese. They aren't going to do that against Vanderbilt. You got to just be able to compete at times. Don't get stuffed for 1-yard runs, 1 or 2 yard runs every play. Don't, force yourself into a situation where the defense is able to throw numbers at you in the pass rush, or don't allow 4-man rushes to get quick pressure. You've got to be able to at least compete on the offensive line. Give Bryson Barnes times. Give running lanes more often than not to your running backs. And if you do that, then Utah State skill position players are good enough to make things happen in this game. Bryson Barnes, is like the best quarterback in the country? No, but he can make things happen.
Right.
Braden Pig and Braden
absolutely.
Boyd, are they like the top receivers in the Mountain West of the country? Not necessarily, but they can make things happen. We've seen the highlight reel catches Brady Boyd has made. We've seen some of the things that Miles Davis and Javen Jacobs can do in the open field. Like, Utah State can make things happen so long as they put themselves in opportunities, both the coaches and, the linemen as well. And, of course, when I talk about pass rush, Javen Jacobs and Miles Davis also have a role in that, because they weren't exactly great in their pass protection, because they're part of that pass protection package. Running backs are part of that.
They're getting better.
Yeah, they need to get better. They were terrible in the first couple of games. They need to get better, and I think they have. But again, just, there's so many things. They just go down a whole checklist of things they have to do right. But I have confidence they can get at least most of those things right and make this a competitive game.
We'll continue to break it down and get your comments, your reactions. We'll also give our predictions tomorrow, so you want to make sure you stick around for that. But we got a lot more next hour to talk about as well. A lot of Utah State basketball talk, so don't go anywhere.
Noise. Cal Raleigh didn't just cement himself as the face of the Mariners last night. It may have been the cherry on top. One of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a catcher. With Seattle clinching the AL West with a win over Colorado, Raleigh launched his 59th and 60th home runs of the season. A jaw-dropping milestone for any position. What makes it even more remarkable is the style in which he's done it. 11 multi-home run games this season. That ties the single-season record. And he's not just adding to the Mariners' box scores, he's rewriting baseball's record books. Raleigh's already put distance between himself and Mickey Mantle for the most home runs by a switch hitter in a season, and way past Salvador Perez for the most home runs in a single year by a catcher. For the M's, hopefully it's a sign of things to come, and for Raleigh, it's something sweeter. Catchers aren't supposed to carry lineups, but in 2025, the man nicknamed the Big Dumper has done just that. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.
I am dedicated. I am TNT.